Hey, come see us on tour. I'll be in Davenport, Iowa, Las Vegas, Nevada, Chicago, Illinois, and Grand Rapids, Michigan. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets. Hey, everybody, we have a very special guest. I'm super excited. Blaire White is here. She's a popular Texas-based YouTuber and political commentator who typically covers social and political issues surrounding gender politics and woke ideology. She was the first openly transgender woman to appear on the Joe Rogan Experience. Now, that's one of the episodes I didn't see, so that's why this is extra exciting for me. Welcome to the show, Blaire.
Thanks for having me. I've been a viewer of the show for a while, and I remember watching you on Young Turks as well when I was younger, so it's interesting seeing your evolution as well.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, it's I definitely have had an evolution on several fronts. Definitely.
Yeah, me too, a few.
You're transitioning?
I'm transitioning.
We've been going through changes, you know.
I'm this is my trans politics.
Yeah.
I wrote this joke recently. Maybe I don't want to. Maybe not burn it here. Save it for the stage. But anyway, it was about the pride parades and what has happened to the pride parades. My friend who's gay. He said, you know, it's not really much to do about pride. It's more about everyone gets to have their sexual fetish on display. And I just want to show you this video. Now, there's an edit in the middle of this, but I just want to get your so this is from the West Hollywood Pride Parade this year, and you see all the fellows out there being very proud of their fetish wear. And here, let's just play it.
I really can't. You know, I met that dancing bear out here in front of the WeHo. Oh my gosh.
What has been your favorite part of this event so far?
I loved going out there and seeing all the kids.
Jesus. I live out there.
God.
I wouldn't have gone out because I wouldn't want to be all boned up.
So
kids.
So my gay friend texted me this. He said they always present it as family friendly, but it's not. It's always a bunch of people who are celebrating their kinks. Now, would you?
Absolutely. And
go ahead.
That's something that I feel like if you take your kid to Pride, you're at the very best ignorant and you haven't been on, you know, social media or watched the news for the past 6 years since the stuff has really been uncovered. Or you're just a bad parent, one of the two. It's a very over-sexualized environment, Pride. In fact, LGBT spaces usually are over-sexualized. It's not a place for kids. Like, that's one of the things that from a very early age, you know, as I was kind of growing up and figuring out like, okay, maybe I'm not a straight person. Maybe there's this thing called trans that might apply to me. I still never felt as if I had a place in that community because I've never been someone who's enjoyed that vibe. And you know, it's quite clear it's not a place for kids, and yet parents still bring them, particularly single moms, you know, white single moms. That's their biggest, that's their Christmas. So
what is it about? So
I don't even want to have a 16-year-old at a comedy show I'm doing.
Exactly. Like if
I feel guilty of doing my act now.
I know. I don't want to.
I guess I don't want him to learn on the street. It's real weird.
Yeah, I feel the same way when there's. Every once in a while, when I was starting out comedy in Los Angeles, we'd go up in non-traditional spaces, like at a coffee shop or somewhere, and they'd have a comedy show. And every once in a while, there'd be someone with their like 10-year-old or 12-year-old, and we go, "Hey, you know this is an adult show." They're like, "No, she's fine.
No.
It's gonna," and I'm like, "No, it's not gonna be fine." And they're like, "No, it's fine." So
I have to address it. I can't just sit and like.
So at first, not only is it not fine, but it makes everybody else self-conscious, right?
Yeah, it creates an uncomfortable environment for those people that are in the environment that know it's not right to have them there, and it makes you feel like you're doing something wrong by, you know, doing what you want to do. But for me, I don't know what it is. I think it's the rainbow. Quite literally, has some sort of like hypnotic effect on like white guilt, you know, women and people who just desperately want to prove they're part of something or okay with something. And so to them, you can't criticize it at all because rainbows just mean love and happiness and joy, and all the uglier stuff. It's almost as if they can't see it, but that's not.
It also means Munchausen syndrome.
So
for the trans parents, for sure.
So when I see this, I just
I really can't. I met that.
It's gross. It's gross.
What are they proud of?
Fetishes.
I don't know. I kind of come from the school of thought that, to be proud of something would, involve some sort of accomplishment, some sort of goal that has been met, some sort of thing you earned or worked for. And you don't have to work for being gay. I mean, you're just fucking gay.
I mean, it is kind of an accomplishment that they got. Everybody's like, hey, this seems fine.
Yeah, everybody thinks that this.
How'd you pull that off?
Well, the psyop, yes. But to their credit, or to their lack of credit, actually, they didn't even do that. I think there was a psyop that was placed upon the LGBT community, and they're all just so, the thing about LGBT culture in general, all the gay men, there's an over, emphasis on partying and drug use. And that's a broad statement. But at the end of the day, this is a demographic that doesn't have kids. A lot of them kind of don't grow up. A lot of them aren't involved in political conversations. They don't know what's in these books, most of them that are in schools that include instructions on how to be on Grindr and have sexual imagery. They just see the rainbow. They're not paying attention. And then, of course, there are the people that absolutely know what are in the books. But for me, those people are probably more the people orchestrating the psyop, if that makes sense.
So, do you think this? Do you think it's like because we now seen the CIA has co-opted the gay pride flag?
Hey,
and,
MK Ultra, they would call "Going Over the Rainbow" as one of your trigger.
No kidding?
Yeah, they would always use that Wizard of Oz programming, Alice in Wonderland programming.
MK Ultra?
Yeah.
So are you familiar with that, Blaire?
Yeah. I mean, that's been a big part of me forming my ideology as a 30-year-old, and just all the things that we've been lied to from the government, all the experiments, all the, things that have been forced upon us that they'll say for decades aren't a thing. I mean, UFOs weren't a thing when I was a kid. The idea that JFK was taken out by someone in the government wasn't an idea. And now all these things are just kind of more out in the open. So yeah, I think there's a lot of useful idiots and then a lot of really bad actors involved in the gay stuff. I mean, for me, who I am has never been political until the world politicized it. Like being trans, it was never, a thing that involved any sort of left or right in my mind. It was always independent of that. But from what I'm seeing, politics has been injected so much into it that now there are people that absolutely take that label on and it's 100% political for them. Particularly, like I've been saying, like white women are the most likely to call themselves queer or non-binary. That's
queer,
not a trans.
And I'm straight.
Exactly.
You could be a queer straight guy. He's got to paint your nails, I guess. I don't know what you do, but you could be queer.
So
right, because that's one of those words that just means anything and everything at the same time.
It sounds like it's meant to destroy the entire identity while posing as being some kind of friend to the identity. It sounds like it's trying to break it down to nothing is anything. Then the next step was we become those big head gray robot aliens.
I don't think those who are orchestrating the psyop actually care too much about the end result for the community or their minorities that they target, right? So other minorities have also been injected with so many politics. Think of how much we're, thrusted with this, like, black versus white, stuff in the country, race stuff, religion stuff. They don't really care about the end result for that community, how it harms them, which is why they teach little black kids in school that they can never overcome race. That's their new MO. So it's just about, the end to their own means.
So, boy, that's such a great point that you brought up, because they've now done studies, which of course are not publicized, but they're published, that it was right after Occupy Wall Street and the Tea Party. So the left wing was Occupy Wall Street. It was the people coming together to oppose the oligarchy and the establishment and the bailout of the banks specifically. When people were hurting in the country, they didn't bail out the homeowners. They took their homes away, but they bailed out the banks who created that situation. And so the Tea Party, which was the right-wing version of that, sprang up. And then the left-wing version of that was Occupy Wall Street. Now, I'm sure both of those movements were completely infiltrated. But what you noticed right after that, and these studies have shown it, was that even after we had elected Barack Obama president, overwhelmingly, first black president, overwhelmingly, they started to inject racism, white supremacy, into all the news articles that were in. They've done the studies that it just exploded. All this talk about racism, all this talk about white supremacy, it just exploded, and that's because the establishment needed to find a way to divide us again, because we were all starting to come together around class lines and realize that we are being screwed over by the 1%, and that we need to come together and across class lines to oppose them. And they had to figure out a way to get us divided, and they did it. And Donald Trump was a gift to them. And we now know that that Donald Trump, because of what's called the Pied Piper strategy, was handpicked by Hillary Clinton to be her opponent. And then she got the media to prop up Donald Trump. Donald Trump might not have been the Republican nominee had not Hillary Clinton got her her minions in the press to focus on Donald Trump and prop him up, because she wanted to run against him because she thought she could paint him as a racist and all that stuff.
The producers. They tried to pull the producers.
They tried to, exactly. So So that
You're
was
absolutely right.
Go ahead, Blaire.
You're absolutely right. It is, in reality, when you see the forest through the trees, it is the people versus the elite. It is the people versus the deep state, and all these, micro divisions we have, whether it's race, whether it's look what they're doing at Pride, which the trans, and now we have Islam versus Judaism. All of it, that one's a bit different because religion goes a bit farther, but it's all meant to keep us from seeing our actual enemy. And it's a bit scary because I don't know if you guys agree with me, but I haven't seen as much unity now in 2024. It's been a while since I've seen it. I can kind of feel people getting really tired of the division, getting really tired of, going to war with each other. They sicked us on each other in ways we could never imagine during 2020. I think we're all collectively traumatized by that. And I think that people are they're a bit, they don't want to fight anymore, at least not with each other. So that's what's scary, because you can just kind of hear the chalk on the chalkboard, what's the next way we're going to divide them and get them to fight each other. But, it's a bigger war than a lot of these things we talk about. Not to say they aren't important, though. Like I have an entire career based off criticizing the LGBT stuff, because at the end of the day, there are casualties to the PSYOP being ran and the complicity within the community, which is a lot of children are harmed by it. Women are harmed by it, society. So it's all still important, but there is that bigger fight, like you said.
So in 2020, or maybe it was 20, whenever I had the Boogaloo Boy on. So there was people were afraid of a civil war, and because of Trump's and I think it was the January 6th thing, it scared people. Mm-hmm. And so there was a Boogaloo Boy who gave a speech in Michigan at the Michigan Capitol, and he was there with an LGBTQ person. He was there with an Antifa person.
They were defending Black Lives Matter or something, weren't they?
They were even defending Black Lives Matter, the Boogaloo Boys, and he was saying we're not each other's enemy, and we have a common enemy. And I reach out to everyone in peace. So I brought that person on the show. His name is Magnus. I forget his last name.
Yeah, that's the most racist, evil thing you could say.
So I brought him on the show, and so the establishment can't have that. They can't have us coming together, people from the left and the right coming together and realizing we have a common enemy. And they had articles written about me and a million YouTube videos that, of Democratic channels that just pillared me. And I got ripped to shreds on Twitter and Facebook. And Jimmy Dore's a crazy right winger.
But what did they do again? What did the Proud Boys or the Boogaloo Boys? What crimes did they do?
So I tried to. And there was no explaining to people, right? People just wanted to hate me because I reached out to people who weren't lined up with it. The big scandal is that people like the Boogaloo Boys used to vote Democrat 25 years ago, and they're not anymore. And that's the conversation the Democrats don't want to have, because they are no longer a working class party. They're a party of white suburban women, and the kind of white suburban 100%. Women who take their kids to pride parades, right?
Right. And one of the main differences, between the left and the right, from what I can see, there's more infrastructure on the right to sort of police our crazies. Like, everyone's kind of aware of who the people that go too far on the right are. You can think of actual people who think the KKK is acceptable, Nazis, whatever. There's no system in place for leftists to be like, you know what, Antifa, who was burning down the country for months, maybe those people are bad. Like, to this day, none of these people that were bailing these people out of prison, Kamala, Biden, none of these cities that were excusing that behavior and letting them create little demented cities within them. Was that Seattle or Portland? I don't remember, but
that was Seattle.
Seattle.
Was the Chaz.
That was the Chaz.
Yeah, no one with any power has been like, you know what? Maybe our side went a little too crazy. So I'm supposed to be gaslit into thinking, Trump supporters having a bad day on, January 6th amounts to like months of the entire country being terrorized in every major city. Me having to evacuate my home. I lived in Hollywood in 2020 summer during COVID. I saw the thick of it in ways that people from the suburbs or people in other cities don't even really know how bad it got. We're talking feds on the beach, like keeping you from going to the beach. We're talking buildings on fire and the fire department not addressing it because of who was burning it down. And people don't forget that. I think that people are sort of just now having a conversation of like, were we all collectively traumatized during that? And what does that say about who traumatized us? Who really did that? Like,
they're
why
all
were
fed
we
ups.
really...
Antifa and the Proud Boys, they run all of them.
That's right.
If you have a movement of any kind, if it gets to a certain point, 100% it will be infiltrated.
Just like January 6th was.
Yes.
So what I try to explain to people, what I tried to explain to Cornel West, which he's a shit lib of the highest proportion. He didn't want to hear it. Was that, those people really, because he tries to make that stupid argument that the January 6th, they were trying to overthrow the government and overturn an election. And I'm like, really? A bunch of Second Amendment gun nuts showed up at the Capitol to overthrow the government.
With no guns.
And they forgot to bring their guns. I bet they were embarrassed.
Yeah.
And, half of those people got pushed in by the FBI plants in the crowd, and the other half got let in by the cops who took the gates away. And I know that happened because I saw the video, and now we know that the January 6th committee was a complete sham, which I called out from the beginning. It's a show trial.
Well, when it wasn't legally binding, I had a clue.
Yeah. So, and why won't they try, if you really believe all that stuff that they say about January 6th, why is none of these court cases prosecutions against Trump, not one of them is over January 6th. Isn't that interesting? Because they knew if they had a real court case that would get exposed that was a psyop by the FBI. They had they had FBI assets inside the Capitol dressed up as Trump supporters before the breach of the Capitol.
100%. And people just don't know that. Part of the entire process of January 6th was really drilling it into people's heads, obviously, that this was, and this is what some of them literally say, worse than 9/11, which is probably the most heinous thing you could take away from that, day. And
well, they
say
did a
about
worse
it, but,
job setting it up. The fake job setting it up, they did a worse job at it.
Yeah.
So in that way, it was worse.
Worse acting, worse special effects, But at the end of the day, I think people are starting to kind of wake up from this, really intense slumber they've been in due to how overstimulating those few years were. I mean, we were getting hit with, a pandemic and then riots, and then who's really doing the rioting? What is Antifa? Some people genuinely still don't know what that even means. And now there's an insurrection at the Capitol. So people now, I think, have had some time and they're like, you know what? This has been really insane. And they want to stop fighting each other, because we also see that it doesn't get us anywhere. We went to war in the streets, for an entire summer, and it didn't go anywhere. So
where's all the movements now? Where are they?
What happened to them?
Yeah,
what happened?
If they're real, why are they gone?
So the culmination.
What happened to who?
All those movements, they're gone.
So
where are they?
The culmination of
Black Lives Matter only comes up during an election year. Actually, surprised they haven't really, reared their head now. But I guess they just got so exposed for, funneling. What was it? Was it millions or billions? Was it an M or a B? A heinous amount of money, to buy mansions and to, not help the Black community at all.
And some to Hamas.
Right.
It's some to Hamas.
Actually, yeah, it's in the Hamas account.
They were very forthright about that part of it.
So
Right.
the culmination of all that whole summer of rioting for Black Lives Matter, the culmination was the Democrats invented a whole new police department. And they funded it to the tune of $2 billion with the votes of the squad.
And black stripe on the pride flag.
But we got a black stripe on the pride flag.
Don't forget that.
So what do you?
Yeah, and I heard they were putting BLM and rainbow stickers on some of the nukes so that, when those go off, we can
Yeah.
at least...
Yes.
It'd be like a gender reveal. They'll have all the colors spraying out with the
If
nuke.
you could invent rainbow nukes, do you think that would?
So let me ask you.
You might as well have something nice to look at when everything,
Hey, come see us on tour. I'll be in Davenport, Iowa, Las Vegas, Nevada, Chicago, Illinois, and Grand Rapids, Michigan. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.